Welcome to the 22nd 2020 NHL Draft recap here at Scouching. Today we're looking at the Calgary Flames draft crop, and I thought they had one of the more fascinating weekends of every team in the NHL Draft. Leading the way, they traded down twice to draft Connor Zary at 24th. And when you look at the names that went off the board between 19 and 23, yeah, if I was the Calgary Flames, I probably would have been trading down too, especially if the name on my list was Connor Zary that I wanted. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Connor Zary over the course of the season, but I think he could be a serviceable middle six offensive player in the National Hockey League. I thought Maverick Bourque or even a Jacob Perreault would have been a more interesting pickup at 24 for the Calgary Flames, but I can't complain about Connor Zary, especially when you trade down twice and still land a player of that caliber. He is a smart offensive scoring winger who knows how to get into dangerous areas and drive offense himself. He isn't the best two-way impact player, but he does a lot of things individually that really should lend itself to future success. I think it's a great pickup for the Calgary Flames, especially when you consider what they did with the other picks they added from trading down. At 50th, they drafted Jan Kuznetsov, and I really like how the University of Connecticut looks and judges and adds defensemen to their roster, and Jan Kuznetsov is really no different. I didn't have him ranked because I didn't see enough of him over the year to really feel confident ranking him, and what I did see was really hit or miss. I think he was a defensive player who wasn't extremely effective defensively, but when the puck was on his own stick, he knows how to skate with it, he's got good skill, and he can push up the ice really well. So I think this is an interesting swing to take at 50th, even if it was a bit rich for me. I think there is a decent future for Jan Kuznetsov here, but again, probably not the guy I would have targeted at 50th overall. He's got decent tools, but his overall metrics, even as a very young player in the NCAA this year, just weren't that promising. So time will tell, but we'll have to wait and see. But at 72nd overall, the Calgary Flames, with a pick they literally got for trading down in this year's draft, drafted Jeremy Poirier from the St. John Sea Dogs, a player that some people had ranked in the top 20 of this year's draft. Now, he should have been a player that should have been drafted before 72nd overall, and I say that as a person who had a lot of concerns about Poirier and had him ranked significantly lower than average. He's got exceptional puck skills for a defenseman, but if you can work on his defensive game and round out his two-way impact and try to get him a little bit better as a functional part of a unit on a line, I think you could have an exceptional puck-moving defenseman here. He's got huge skill, great offensive upside, and a great ability to carry a puck with his skill. I think his skating is a little bit overrated. He was very inefficient with regards to maintaining control on offensive transitions, and I think a lot of that comes down to an unwillingness to use line mates as passing options and a real willingness to go headfirst into a one-on-three situation where he just won't come out with control of the puck. So if he can take his foot off the gas pedal a little bit more often and just play a little bit more of a settled game and learn how to play defensively with more intensity and at least a work rate that can try to keep pucks out of the net at a better rate than what he's already done, I think there could be a really interesting pick here at 72 for Calgary. I think this could be a potential steal, especially for a pick that you literally did nothing to get. At 80th overall, they drafted Jake Bolton, and I've only seen a little bit of Jake Bolton, and I kind of like what I see, but I don't really know exactly what I would advertise him as. He was the captain of his high school team this year and played a few games for the Lincoln Stars and put up some solid production. He had really good defensive catalyst percentages in my tracking, and was involved in goals scored at even strength at a really good rate for a defenseman. So all signs point to something somewhat positive with Jake Bolton, but I can't say I've seen enough to really be positive or negative on this pick. He's a little bit old for this draft class, especially for someone coming out of high school, but for a pick in the third round that you literally did nothing to acquire except trade down, sure, you can take who you like, and if Boltman's that guy, go nuts. Then at 96th overall, the Calgary Flames drafted D+1 goaltender Daniil Chechelev from Podolsk in Russia. Now, I haven't seen too much of this guy play hockey, but according to Instat, I'll defer to them. He does better than expected in terms of saving goals at the Russian junior level. He stops a lot of pucks. Maybe he's a goalie that they can really work with moving forward. I don't know. I didn't even know he existed until they drafted him at 96th overall, and I'm sure most people didn't either. So we'll see what happens. If you like him, you like him. But at 143, the Calgary Flames drafted a player that I very easily would have considered as high as the 80th pick they used on Jake Bolton and Ryan Francis. I think this kid is really underrated. He's got a lot of fun skill. He's an entertaining player to watch, but he also puts in a lot of hard work at both ends. I think this is a nice buy low candidate to watch for the next few years, and I am a big fan of Ryan Francis' game. He's skilled, he's aggressive, he doesn't give up on pressure plays, and I think there's potential for Francis to be a really interesting junior player over the next couple of years with the Cape Breton Eagles. And speaking of potentially interesting junior level players, Rory Karens was a player that impressed me a lot of the time when I was watching the Sioux Greyhounds. He's slippery, he's skilled, he's smooth, he's a lot of fun to watch. I think this could be another late round pick, which the Calgary Flames seem to like doing recently, where they bet on skill and flash and offense and try to round out their games down the road. So far, it's worked with some players in the past, and I think there's more coming with guys like Francis and Karens here. And then at 205, they drafted Ilya Solovyov, who for a very long time this year made my list of 20-plus NHLeS score players, but slowly started fading as the year continued. He had an absolutely ripping start to the season, but most of it was power play production. I've seen him play quite a bit. I don't see huge potential here. He's an okay defender, a good offensive player as well, willing to shoot from the point with a decent shot, but I don't expect a tremendous amount out of Solovyov in the near future. I don't know what he's going to be, but outside of the offensive zone, I didn't really see much out of Solovyov that really screamed late round swing. I am willing to trust the Calgary Flames scouting staff though. They have had some interesting late round swings that have worked out, at least to this point, and Solovyov certainly produced at the OHL level for a very long period of time this year. So I don't really see it with Solovyov, but I'm not going to complain about the guy that went in that range of the draft. So for the Calgary Flames overall, I'm going to give them a 1C. I really liked their overall approach to this year's draft. Trading down and still landing Connor Zary at 24 is a perfectly fine pick. I think there's really good potential there. It's a risky play to take Jeremy Poirier at all, but at 72, it's an easy argument to make. I think there's a lot of potential with Poirier, and if it doesn't work out, too bad, it was a third-round pick. It's not the end of the world. But I think if it does work out, that could be a steal. Jake Bolton has some decent metrics in his favor, but I haven't seen it over a big enough sample to be super hype about the guy. And Ryan Francis and Rory Karens, I think for where they were picked, are really good options. So overall, I mean, the Calgary Flames might end up with multiple NHL players coming out of here, and I'm giving them a 1 more based on their strategy when it came to the draft. And trading back to take Connor Zary, as well as add names like Jeremy Poirier and potentially even Jake Boltman later on for doing nothing but trading down, could be one of the stories of this draft that we look back on fondly in a few years. So they get a 1 for the overall strategy, but the overall talent and likelihood of getting stuff out of this draft might be closer to a 2 or even a 3. But I do really like what they did, and their late round swings were really impressive, so I gotta give the Calgary Flames props this year. So that's it for this draft recap. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you can click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could subscribe on Patreon or here on YouTube by clicking join below. You'll get access to Discord servers, you'll get access to data sheets for hundreds of drafted and undrafted prospects, as well as merchandise discounts and plenty of other goodies, or you could pick up some merchandise from the Scouchwear shop where 50% of profits go to the Women's Sports Foundation. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and join me in the next one where we look at the Buffalo Sabres.